Okay, so making a scheduling video for me offers the same level of difficulty as making a curriculum video because everybody's needs are so different. Every family's needs are so different that a schedule that works for one family is going to be an absolute nightmare for another family. But I can give you some principles about scheduling and some different schedules that you can play around with and try and see what works best for your family. So first and foremost, I'm sure you've heard this over and over and over again, which is don't make your home like the public school. And that's the same thing with your schedule. A big problem with the public school system is that there is a lack of flexibility and the children have to move from task to task to task before they're ready. So when you're creating your own schedule, I like to use kind of a time block method. So I block out my day into like 3 or 4 blocks where I put in the subjects that we want to get done for the day. I might say in the morning, we're going to do math and social studies. Then in the afternoon, after lunch, we might get to language arts or some science or something like that. I like to do it that way because it doesn't give us a specific time frame for each lesson. So if we have a longer math lesson, if we're having trouble with a specific subject or our reading takes longer than usual, we have that flexibility and we can always push things to a different block or even a different day. But the point is, we are not arbitrarily interrupting our child in the middle of learning because, oh, now it's time to go do language arts. Oh, now we have to do lunch. It makes it so that if they get into a flow, they can stay in a flow, or if they're struggling, neither of us feel that time pressure and we can just take the time we need to move through it as slowly or as quickly as we want to move through it. Then it also incentivizes the kids if they want to get to more fun things during that time block, they just have to get their schoolwork done, which means that they are now incentivized to focus and try to get it done. Another one I like to do with older, more independent kids is they just have a list of subjects that they are required to do for that day, and then they can do it whenever they want. Now, again, this may not work for younger kids that you have to work one-on-one with, or they need a lot of your attention because you might have to schedule out your day to meet all of your responsibilities. But once they're older and they're working independently, they can do it whenever they want as long as they get it done during the day. And then if they need my help, they can just be like, hey, Mom, I need your help with this, and then I can get to it when we have the opportunity. That is the most flexible and my favorite place to get in homeschooling. But again, you need to have slightly older kids, you need to have independent kids, you need to have kids who aren't fighting you to get their work done. And then for some families, having specific blocks of time where they're going to do different subjects, kind of similar to the public school system, works really well for them. I've seen it happen where it works well. It's never worked for me and my family, but I have a friend who has a lot of special needs kids. They've got a lot of needs, and so she has to block out her time that way just to make sure everybody's needs are met, and that's totally fine. Now, as far as how much time homeschooling takes you and how much time you should set aside for that, it kind of, again, just depends on where you live, what your state requires, and your family's specific needs. So if your state requires a certain number of days or a certain number of hours a day, then you need to fill that time. But remember, that time doesn't necessarily have to be filled by you and your child sitting at the table doing a worksheet. There are all sorts of educational activities that count towards learning time in public school, and that should be counted as learning time in homeschool as well. So kids in public school have recess, they have lunch, they have reading times, independent reading, they have field trips, they have activities, they have field days. My philosophy is if it counts as learning time in the public school, it counts as learning time in homeschool. Don't freak out if your state requires that you do 5 hours of homeschool a day and you're going, I have a first grader, we cannot sit at the table for 5 hours and do schoolwork. You don't have to. Get creative. And then as far as a weekly schedule, I really love the 4-day-a-week schedule where we do our academics 4 days a week, either in that time block or I have those subjects that they have to get done. And then we have Friday as a free day. Now that's really nice because if things have to get pushed, we can always do it on Friday. If we have a really difficult time in math and we're having a hard time all week, we might spend more time on that. And then we might do our science on Friday because it got pushed. Or we might do field trips on Friday, or we might just take a break on Friday. This incentivizes our kids to cooperate with us because they want that free day on Friday. So if they work really hard Monday through Thursday, they get a free day. If they mess around and they fight us and it's really, really difficult, they're probably going to have to work on Friday. I love a good natural consequence. But if you want to do less time every day, you could homeschool 5 days a week. You could homeschool 6 days a week. I mean, heck, you could homeschool 7 days a week and just do an hour or two a day. You could homeschool year round and you could do 3 weeks on, 1 week off. You could homeschool year round and then just take breaks whenever you want to and just make sure you're meeting whatever your state's requirements are. You can literally do whatever you want in homeschool as long as your kids are learning, they're progressing, they're getting the skills they need. You just have to play around with it and find what works for you. And don't worry if you try a schedule and it ends up being a disaster, you can try a different one. The most important thing that you can do as a homeschooler is to be flexible, to log what's happening every day so you can look for patterns, and then you can set up systems within your home to lessen areas of contention or difficulty. If you want to know more about any specific scheduling philosophy I talked about, just let me know in the comments and I can elaborate more.